This is episode 24 of Entrepreneurs for Change. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to our mailing list at entrepreneursforchange.com. Are you ready to be the change? If so, you've come to the right place. You are about to join a movement of entrepreneurs who are empowering people, saving the planet, and turning their passion into profits while creating the lifestyle of their dreams. If you don't believe us, check out our website at entrepreneursforchange.com. A place where you can be inspired, mentored, and supported by a tribe of change-making entrepreneurs just like you. Hi there, brilliant change makers. This is Lorna Lee, host of another episode of Entrepreneurs for a Change, where we interview change-making entrepreneurs who are transforming business as usual, making an impact and designing lifestyle businesses from exotic locations. Ever wish business was easy? Every entrepreneur I've spoken to has told me that starting a business and growing it was a lot of hard work that really involves busting through your fears and persevering beyond the point where most people give up. Typically, along this entrepreneurial journey, you might stumble upon this concept, which has become a bit of a holy grail in the online world, and that's the idea of passive income. However, passive income is rarely ever passive. It may be residual recurring income, that is to say that revenues come in 24/7 even if you are offline and on vacation for a week or more. But passive income usually involves quite a bit of active work. Driving traffic, testing offers, optimizing conversions, getting your product pages ranked on the first page of Google. That's work, folks. So today I'm going to talk to Justin Cooke, a lifestyle entrepreneur who is based in Davao City, which is located on a beautiful tropical island in the Philippines. He runs a site called Empire Flippers with his partner, Joe Magnotti. They teach people how to build websites that generate AdSense income. All the work you need to do is pretty much upfront: keyword research and SEO copywriting. These sites rank in Google entirely based on keyword optimization, so no need to go through the onerous task of building up backlinks. A quote-unquote successful site brings in approximately $50 a month in AdSense revenue. If you build up a portfolio of these websites, you can easily make several thousand a month in truly passive income. In this info-packed interview, Justin shares with us the white hat SEO tactics he uses that allows his pages to rank on the first page of Google without having to build backlinks. How to optimize your ad blocks for maximum clicks. The sweet spot you need to identify in your keyword research that indicates whether or not you stand a chance of ranking on Google page 1 for that keyword niche. 2 deadly mistakes you want to avoid in your keyword research process. The formula he uses to calculate the profit potential of a niche. And much, much more. Tools and resources are included in the show notes, which can be found at entrepreneursforchange.com/24. Now, before diving into the interview, I want to encourage you to rate, review, and download Entrepreneurs for a Change on iTunes. This really helps us reach more people with inspiring stories of entrepreneurs who are changing the world. Also, if these stories inspire you to start a world-changing business of your own, head over to our website at entrepreneursforchange.com and download the Business Changemakers Toolkit to get a jumpstart today. Now on to the show. Okay. So, Justin, I'm so glad to have you with us on our call. I've been so curious about what it takes to really build up a portfolio of websites that generate passive income. I know a lot of people are really interested in how to crack this code, but specifically, whether it's possible to be able to do this around, niches that are kind of like more on the sustainability or lifestyles of health and wellness type of sectors, because I think a lot of us who, are intrigued by passive income see a lot of the, scammy or sleazy make money online offers, or think that it has to, do with, making money online and generating passive income has to orient towards niches that are not so exciting or a little, sleazy. So
6-minute abs or whatever. Yeah.
Or like diet pills, acai diet pills or teeth whitening.
Yeah, you don't have to do any work. You just sit back and you're going to look beautiful and you buy my product and you'll be great.
Yeah, exactly. While we rebill you every month.
Yeah, rebilling, recurring. That's the key.
Yeah. Okay, so Justin, tell us who you are and what you do.
So my name is Justin Cooke. I'm an expat entrepreneur. I live in Davao City in the Philippines with my business partner. And we originally started out here with an outsourcing company, which kind of turned on to more of an online presence through our brand, EmpireFlippers.com. I'm a partner there. I'm a co-host of the podcast that we run. And basically, we, explain how we've built out a network, a mini empire of small niche sites, and we help others do the same. And we also basically allow for a marketplace where others can buy and sell their sites to other, passive income investors that are looking for, properties to add to their portfolio. So we've moved into more of the buying and selling space over the last year or so, and that's kind of our focus.
So tell me, how many sites do you guys have, and how many do you guys create every month?
So we've built out thousands of sites. I'd say more than 3,000 sites total. And that's not even counting all the small sites, because we've done some local SEO for our outsourcing company, and we've created sites for them as well. But for ourselves, a few thousand. We have about 600 or so left. A bunch of them we either sold off or they weren't worth renewing. They weren't worth keeping. So we have a failure rate when we create sites. A portion of our sites, maybe 25, 30%, just fail miserably and just don't work. And we've tried to improve that number and tried to get better with our keyword research, and it just doesn't seem to matter. So some of them are just losers, and we end up tossing those. For the ones that win and end up taking off, generally those become investments for other people when we sell them the site so they can expand them and change the monetization. So we built tons and tons of sites. One thing that, I'd have to say is that when we started off, I did it myself. I was building out the sites. I was, writing the content or having some of the content written for me through, a bunch of sources you can use. And, after the first couple of months, we really added that to our team. We have a team of people here in the Philippines that do a bunch of different work for us. And that's kind of really our value proposition. We have a team of people that we can hand them work and they can make it work. If we give them a clear process, they can take that and build something out. So our real value proposition is the fact that we have an amazing team here that can do the work for us. So Joe and I had very little to do with those sites today, but we are testing out some new processes, which I'm sure we'll get into in a bit, where we're testing out expanded niche sites, buying expired domains, that kind of thing. So we're doing some testing right now. I think we're going to do 25 sites this month on these larger niche sites to see kind of how they work.
So tell me, what qualifies as a success and what constitutes failure? What metrics do you look at? When do you decide to pull the plug on a site and decide that it's a loser?
Yeah, so that's going to depend pretty heavily on the type of site you're building. And, there's all different kinds of ways to build AdSense sites or niche sites. Our model or our process was, we spend about $40 to $50 in total, and that's counting the hours spent building it and everything that goes into building the site. And we want the site to make somewhere between $8 and $10 a month or more. As is typical, about 80% of the revenue from earning sites comes from about 20% of the site. So some of them make, $200 a month, $250 a month, and a lot of them are making $3 a month. They're at the lower end of the spectrum. But a win for us is $8 to $10 a month on a $40 to $50 investment. That's a pretty good ROI. We'll normally keep the site for anywhere from 5 to 10 months. Once the site has stabilized in terms of traffic, rankings, and earnings, then it's in a good position for us to sell it and, take that money and roll it into building new ones.
Okay, so how many pages are we talking about on a $50, $60 website?
So for the $40, $50 sites, we were creating just 5 content pages. So we'd have the homepage, we'd have 4 additional content pages, and then there'd be obviously an about us and, terms of service and that kind of thing. So a couple additional pages, but 5 content pages to start. The sites we're testing right now have 50 pages of content, and they're built on expired domains. So they cost us a bit more. I think don't quote me on this, but I think it's about $250 we're spending on these new sites, and we're hoping they'll make us about $50 a month, which would be in line with, kind of the ROI we're looking at with the smaller sites. So we're testing that now.
So on only 5 pages of content, that seems like a pretty thin site. So, I like that because 5 pages of content isn't that hard to create. And, if you're generating $8 to $10 a month on it, I mean, okay, you could really crank out a bunch of these and start to generate some decent income. How many words are typically on each page?
Normally be somewhere between 500 to 700 words for the homepage or for the primary keyword that we're targeting, an additional 400 to 500 words for the secondaries. So yeah, not that much content. We actually order, we have a team, we call them content managers, and they order the content from places like HireWriters and iWriter.com. And then when it comes back, they'll check it for uniqueness, make sure that it wasn't copied, that someone's not trying to reuse their work, and then also format it and make sure that it looks great on the page when they upload it to the site.
Do you do any backlinking onto these websites, or is it purely, through content optimization?
So we did some backlinking, and I should make clear too that, we're targeting very small niches. So, and this isn't an actual, site or keyword, but something like blue ski boots. Like it's really, really kind of direct and targeted. So it's not like you're going to have this huge backlink profile and it's going to take a really long time to rank. These are kind of like the really low end phrases that maybe if you have a very large site about ski equipment, maybe you would have one page kind of targeting that. But we built the whole site around it, a very small site, an entire site, which has a better chance to rank for that keyword. But when it comes to backlinking, we've done some backlinking. We tested it. And this is a couple of years ago. We were building a public blog network called Build My Rank. And it was, a blog network where you could pay and you could submit and you would use their links and they would link to your site. We had a problem with that when Penguin came out, where it crushed a bunch of the sites that we built these links to through a public network. Now we choose not to build any links at all. The reason being that if we're going to be selling the sites, we don't want to put them at risk for our buyers. So if we have a backlink system, even if it works today, what if it doesn't work 6 months from now? What if it ends up causing a problem? And so we don't want to take on that risk. When we sell a site, if someone else wants to attempt to do backlinks, best of luck with you. But we don't want to do it for the buyers that we have.
So pretty much what you're saying, that these websites that you guys built for pretty niche keywords, do they rank on Google page one for those terms?
Some of them do. So some will get to, it'll take a while. Normally it takes anywhere from 2 to 4 months to get the site ranked on the first page. Sometimes they get in the number one position. Other times they just never appear at all. So they're on, page 8 and never get any better. Sometimes they may get to page 2. It just depends. Now we had a lot more success at getting higher in the rankings when we were doing backlinking, but it also cost a bit more too. We were spending $50 to $60 for the site for those backlinks. So we're spending less, but the average of the site has gone down too, which kind of makes it a wash. And honestly, it makes it safer long-term to not do backlinking or have your backlinks come naturally.
So if you're not doing any backlinks, then what else do you do besides creating the content and then launching the site and letting it simmer? Do you do any social media? How do you get it to, how do you get your sites to get indexed and beyond hoping and praying, move up the index?
So we do some, white hat SEO. So what we do is we optimize around the keywords based on the content, and we also build out internal links that are helpful for our SEO. And this is the types of things that most white hat agencies will do, in addition to some legitimate backlinks they can get through, guest blogging and that kind of thing. But we focus specifically on internal SEO. So we'll use anchor-rich keywords to link between the pages. We'll make sure that our content is really on target for the keywords that we're looking to target. But it's really it's the basic stuff that you should be doing anyway. And so because of that, Google's pretty good at indexing sites today. Years ago it used to be you'd have to push to even get it in the index. But Google's pretty good about finding your content today, so it's not as bad as it was. I'll tell you, I don't know if you know Nate, I think his name's Nate Ginsburg. He had a Pinterest process where he was able to get quite a bit of traffic via Pinterest. And so we're actually doing a pilot test run with him right now to see if we can promote additional traffic via Pinterest. I know Joe's got some Facebook tests going on as well. We don't know the success. It's early in that, so it looks promising. It looks like the traffic we're getting good, but I think it'll still take some time. One thing you have to be careful with, especially with AdSense, is you can buy traffic any number of ways. You can pay for just a ton of traffic to come to your site. The problem with AdSense is that you want to make sure it's targeted, relevant traffic. So if we let's say we just went to some traffic broker and said, hey, yeah, send us 50,000 visits to our page. They're not going to be there for that particular topic or want more information on that topic. They may just be there because they clicked some other random link somewhere and ended up on our page. So we want people there that have an interest in the topic. So, if they got there via search, they've obviously expressed an interest. Whereas if it's totally random traffic, that wouldn't be good. So, for example, if I had a Twitter account with, let's say 1 million followers, and we did like daily deal updates and stuff, and I started to kind of funnel traffic that way, unless it was about the topic of my site, so I used blue ski boots, unless it was about ski equipment, like the Twitter account, then it might not be so great to send a bunch of traffic that's not relevant to the keyword. Because ultimately, you get paid on a click with AdSense, right? So someone clicks over, you get paid, let's say, 40 cents, 50 cents, $1. You want to make sure that traffic you're getting is converting for the advertiser. Someone's paying you that 40 or 50 cents or that dollar for the click. You want to make sure that they're getting traffic that converts for them. Ultimately, if you're not sending converting traffic over to them at a percentage that Google has deemed relevant, it can be problematic for your AdSense account. And that's why I think a lot of people will get their AdSense account banned or in trouble, is because they're not sending relevant traffic to the advertisers. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally does make sense. I think one of the challenges, too, that some publishers might run into is how to get the best AdSense ads onto their content. So I've run into this challenge, too. So let's say I've got a website about solar, or, even if it's a general website about sustainability and the web page is about residential, solar panels, for example. How do you tie the content with the ad? Because sometimes, and I will admit, I'm not an AdSense expert at all, but I've had placed AdSense on my websites and I've just been like, why is this ad coming up? So it's like, are there best practices around optimize your content so that you have more relevant AdSense ads appear?
Yes, when you sign up for AdSense, they'll tell you the ad blocks that are most popular. You're going to want to make sure that you're using ad blocks that are popular with the advertisers, because that's going to give you a better chance at having advertisers. If you don't, or if there are no advertisers for that niche, a lot of times they'll, what do they call them? Like they don't put advertisers up. They put like Wikipedia or something like that. Like it's like a social good type site. So they're not actually paying. So basically what I'm saying is that you want to make sure that you're targeting a niche that has a high level of advertiser competition. You want people competing for those keywords to make sure that, you're going to get paid when people click through. So if there are 3, 4, 8 people in your space advertising for those keywords, you have a higher likelihood of getting paid and actually, seeing those CPCs go up over time. But basically, just having the right ad blocks on your sites is going to help, make sure that relevant ads are getting placed. And Google's awfully good at determining what a relevant ad is. One thing I'll mention, too, is that it's not just the contextual information based on the site and the keywords that you're targeting. It's also based on user interest. So let's say that I go to the site about blue ski boots, but I had just been looking at GoDaddy, for example. I may see a GoDaddy ad there because Google knows I was looking at GoDaddy yesterday and it's doing some remarketing toward me based on GoDaddy's placement. So for you, Lorna, you may have had AdSense on your site, but it knew that you were looking at, Longtail Pro or whatever else the day before. So it'll serve you ads.
Empire
that's
flippers.
Following you around, right? I'm getting that all
Stop
the time.
following me, Justin.
I know. We just started a remarketing campaign for Empire Flippers, and I'm seeing myself all over the place. I'm going to niche sites and seeing Empire Flippers ads. But that's the reason why. So, and that's actually not bad, because especially if your target, let's say, was looking up legal information and they get like a legal Zoom ad, that click may actually pay more. That's why a lot of times in a particular niche, even if they found you via not the best keyword, you get paid like a $3 or $5 click, because it's targeted toward them specifically based on their interests. So yeah, basically making sure that you're using the right ad blocks, and Google will tell you which ads the most advertisers have. Making sure that you have enough advertisers for those keywords or that niche will go a long way toward making sure that you're getting a good amount of advertising, a good amount of click advertising when you send the traffic.
So are you going to get better targeted AdSense ads if you place the ad block within the actual body of the article as opposed to, let's say, in your sidebar?
Yeah, that's right. So generally, a really good ad placement is the 336, I think it's 336 by 280, right under the title of the post. So right before the content, right under the title, that normally gets good clicks. But all this stuff, I mean, it really comes down to testing. So on one niche site, it may be that, a side, one of the ads on the sidebar outperforms one of the ones that's inside the content just because it's that particular niche, or just because the advertiser for that particular ad unit is better. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. What we do is we created a theme called Intellitheme, which gives you different layouts. So, because we didn't know, one about blue ski boots may perform better with one kind of layout or look than one that's about red ski boots, for example. As crazy as that is, we figured, why don't we have a theme that can test that? So we created Intellitheme. We'll rotate through these different layouts, and over time, it'll give you a statistical significance as far as which layout performs better, and you can lean more towards that layout versus the others. And we found that some niches, for whatever reason, one layout will perform better than another. There is one that performs a better overall, but it's not as clear cut as we thought. So that's actually good. We can test out all these different layouts with different niches and maximize our earnings for each site that way.
So this theme that you guys created for WordPress, what is it called again? How do you spell it?
Yeah, it's called Intellitheme. And basically, it's a theme we created based on some of the ad units and layouts that we tried before, and found it to be effective. Found it to, depending on the layout, some layouts would earn more than others in certain niches. So it's the theme that we use for all of our niche sites. It works well with AdSense, but it also works with Amazon. It works with any ad-based, placement where you can put code in, and it'll test different ad units in that spot, or it'll test different layouts to determine which layout is the most effective, and then you can make that your permanent layout for that niche site.
How much is it and where can we get it?
Pay $97. It's at Intellitheme.com, and it's just really, we created it for us, and then we did a launch. We sold a little over 1,000 licenses when we launched it, and now it just sells a couple of licenses a month, but it is something that we use on a regular basis. It's updated, that kind of thing.
Awesome.
I'll warn you, it looks ugly. It's not a very good looking thing. I much prefer the layout. It's something like Theme Forest or Genesis or Thesis. And those are all responsive. Our theme is not responsive, which it should be. And we'll probably fix that eventually. But it just happens to be those layouts that performed really well for the niche sites we created. That was one of the biggest complaints. It was like, well, this is kind of ugly. I was like, yeah, but it kind of works. I don't know. That's why, we tested it, and these are the ones that happen to work best for us.
Okay, so going back to kind of niche selection, so to speak, when you're creating niche site with the goal of generating AdSense revenue, you had mentioned that, obviously, if you're dealing with search terms that have high advertiser competition, then it's going to increase your chances of, profits, like more advertising profit. Is that correct?
Paid, yeah.
Okay, how do you determine whether or not your niches are competitive niches?
So, the Google placement tool, the tool that you can use, and it works for Longtail Pro as well, which is the keyword research tool that we use, but it'll tell you the advertiser competition. So you want to make sure that the advertiser competition is relatively high. Don't confuse that, though, with competition in Google on the first page. You want that to be low. So you're looking for high advertiser competition and low first page competition. And what I mean by first page competition is you don't want to see sites that are, authorities in their niche, that are, root domains that are targeting your keyword. So if you find a very authoritative site and it's the root domain and they're targeting that keyword, and there are a bunch of those on the first page, that's probably not a keyword we would target. It is maybe a more long-term keyword, and it would take a much, stronger site to rank there, but it's not the type of niche that we are looking for. So we're looking for kind of the secret niches, the ones where there's not a lot of content out there about it, or Google hasn't found any good content about it yet, but that does have some advertisers. So it's valuable to advertisers, but content marketers haven't targeted that keyword as well at this point.
So how would you then determine whether or not there's too much competition on the first page of Google? I mean, some obvious examples might be if there's a Wikipedia listing, or if there's like a big authority news site like, Huffington Post or Mashable, for example. Would those be some examples? Like, how else would you, advise people?
Yeah, so if Wikipedia has an article about that specific keyword, about that particular topic, and the article is targeting that topic, that's going to be difficult. So depending on how well ranked that is on the first page, if it's, halfway down or something, ooh, that looks pretty painful. They're going to be hard to beat in that space. If it's a Wikipedia article that has a slight mention of something about that keyword and it's not particularly targeting that keyword, that might still be okay, because, Wikipedia is pretty powerful getting ranked. So if they're specifically targeting that keyword based on, whatever, they have an article about it, that might be a bit more difficult. But if there's a slight mention of those keywords somewhere on the page, that might be something you can beat. Really, that's kind of like the subjective piece of picking whether, we want to target the keyword based on the first page analysis. But a more objective way to do it would be to look into Longtail Pro, which is the keyword research tool we use. But that pulls information from Google. And what it will do is it'll give you a keyword competition score. They call it KC. And that basically gives you a grade based on the analysis of the first page and the data that it pulls for that keyword. So we typically look for a KC score of 40 or less. If it's 40, it means it's doable. There's no guarantees, but it's going to be more doable using our process. So we use a mixture of looking at the KC, it being under 40, and then actually looking at the first page, analyzing it, and determine whether or not we're going to be able to rank. So sometimes that keyword, it might have a KC of 36. And we go, oh, that looks hot. We check out the first page, and our analyst will say, oh, no, that's not going to work. We're not going to target that keyword. That's not good enough. And it may just be because of one of two problems, meaning there's someone ranked, in the 7th, 8th, and 9th position, and they're really highly targeted toward that keyword. They've been there for quite a while. They have a lot of page authority, and just looks like something that we're not really wanting to go after, so we'll dump it. So that's kind of the final check, is the first page analysis done by our analysts that look for keywords. So yeah, and it sounds complicated. It's really not that bad. We have a guide that really goes through that you can check out. We'll talk about that toward the end or whatever, but it'll walk you through keyword research step by step. I would say that's kind of the most important part of our process, is determining we're going after the right keywords. So it's really worth, getting it down. And, that when you start off doing this, you're probably going to screw up a few times. I did. I went for global search numbers instead of local search. So I was thinking that a bunch of keywords that were being searched for were in the US, and that's what I was trying to target. And it turned out they were in different countries. I also did broad match instead of exact match. So, partials of those keywords were being mentioned, but not the exact phrase. So I'd find keywords and say, oh, this looks like such a winner. And it turns out no one's searching for that phrase in particular, maybe like 40 people a month. So that wasn't very helpful. I was like, oh, I'm ranked, or I'm number 1 or number 2, but that's not great when only 40 people a month are searching for your phrase.
So are you recommending that researchers go by the local search numbers rather than the global?
So we look at that. So let's say, for example, that I have local, in my case, set to the US, and I'm really trying to target US traffic.
Right.
And it looks like, 70% of my traffic is from the US. That's okay. If it's, 30% and there's only, let's say, 800 searches a month, then I may want to look at where the other 30% is. If it's in the UK, you may still want to target that keyword, but you want to keep your content in line with that. So make sure that you're using, if you get a content writer, make sure you get a British speaking content writer, probably someone from India, to write that content for you. So you can still target the UK, you can target Australia. Just make sure that you know where they're coming from. Whereas, for example, if I targeted keywords where 70% of the searches were getting done in the Philippines, that's great if I had something to sell to people in the Philippines. But if I'm looking for AdSense advertisers, in general, they're not looking for Filipino traffic. So that's not going to be as helpful for me when it comes to advertisers. It's probably not going to be high-paying traffic. You're going to want to get something from the US, UK, Australia, something like that.
So what's the minimum monthly search volume that you guys look at before you decide the niche doesn't have enough traffic in it to be worth the time and effort to create these sites?
So it's normally going to be a balance between search volume and stated CPC. So we'll go as low as 800 exact match searches a month, as long as obviously it's, local, as long as it is, mostly from a country that we're looking to target, but it better have a higher CPC. So it's going to need to have a higher, CPC of $1.50 or more for us to go after it. If it has, let's say, 1,800, 2,000 exact match local search volume, then we're maybe willing to go down on CPC a little bit. Basically, we want it to be some multiple of $10 or more. So if I take, let's say, exact match CPC of 1,000 and multiply that by the CPC of $1 and multiply that by 1%, I want that to be $10 or more. Does that make sense? So with 1,000 times one, that's $1,000. Multiply that by 1%, that'll be $10. That ratio needs to be $10 or more for us to want to target it.
Okay, that's a really good formula. Thank you for sharing that with us. So I guess,
we built out a tool called a niche profit calculator. So you can go and put in the exact match search and the CPC. It's free, just something you can use if you want to check it out. But it will basically determine whether or not it would be a go for us. Now, this doesn't guarantee, or it's not always accurate in determining how much you're going to make with that site. There's so many things that go into that just won't work. But it does give you kind of a great comparison. So if I'm thinking about targeting this keyword or that keyword, it gives you a better idea on like where your focus should be and the potential. So if my potential is 3 times as high with this keyword than it is with this, I think it's about the same in terms of difficulty to get ranked. I might as well target the one that has 3 times potential.
Okay, cool. So where do we access this calculator? Do you know the URL off the top of your head? We'll definitely include it in the show notes.
I don't, but you can go to Google, just search for niche profit calculator, and I'm pretty sure I'll be number 1 for that.
Excellent. Okay. So we got into some nitty gritty of niche research, but I think just kind of to take a step back and to look at it from a bigger, a higher perspective, like more of a 40,000 foot view, so to speak. Niche research is really hard for a lot of people to grok. So, can you give us kind of like the basic overview of what people need to do in order to determine whether a niche has enough traffic and has enough profit potential to be worth the investment of building a website? So there's obviously this formula, but I mean, if you could kind of take a step back and just, summarize like maybe the list of things they need to do, that would be so helpful.
Yeah, so the formula is helpful, but there are other considerations that aren't quite so formulaic, and so I think I'll talk about those for a bit. It also has to be something that people are interested in purchasing. So there has to be some buyer intent with the search phrase. When you're looking at these keywords or you're looking for targets, you want to think about, is someone actually searching for this keyword to purchase something, or are they just kind of like looking for information and they're not really in a buying mindset? So for example, we built the site out around a particular painter, right? And it was about kind of his painting style and stuff. And it got quite a bit of traffic because it was ranked really well. And I think we were one of the very few sites kind of like talking about his types of paintings and his style. The problem is that no one was buying. So they would see, the ad blocks. And, it was really hard, I think, to get relevant advertisers for Google to serve up relevant ads for that site. And so we had great traffic and very low click-through rate. Whereas if I'm targeting a particular product or, something where people are looking, it's like kind of like their last search before they make a purchase, they're much more in a buying mindset. So when they go to our site, they get a bit of information, they see it right there for sale, they might go, okay, well, hey, I want to go purchase that. I'm ready to make my decision. They'll click through with an intent to buy. So looking at buyer and when you're targeting a niche, I think is important. One of the things I've heard said, and I think this is pretty interesting, and I think it's mostly true, is that there's real value in targeting, if you're just getting started off, targeting like personal or private problems you might not want to ask your coworker about. Let's say you want to do research on a particular STD, right? You might want to tell.
You read my mind.
Yeah.
Like, what could possibly? Oh, yeah, like home STD kits.
Your warts problem or something, or you have a friend,
No.
right? So, I mean, that's not something you want to ask for advice about. That would be a little uncomfortable. So it is something you might search out, though, privately. You and Google might take a look. And so, these types of keywords are the kinds of things people are researching for because there's a real problem and they're obviously looking to solve that problem. Same thing might be go for like, and don't try this keyword to be insanely difficult, but around like DUIs, right? If I had a DUI and I have a court date, how do I deal with that? That might be not something I'd want to tell my boss about or my coworkers, but it is something I might want to research myself on Google. So we found some definitely value in targeting those types of things. I'd also say, and I won't give away any specific niches here, but we have people that sell sites and that buy sites in the educational space. So any for-profit educational institutions that are looking for leads, and this is not AdSense based, but if they're looking for leads, building out a niche site around that particular niche, that particular educational institution's niche, can be really helpful, and it's worth a lot because they end up getting paid a lot for those students that sign up, thousands and thousands of dollars. So they're willing to pay a bit more for leads that can lead them to getting them signed up.
Do you know of any niches in the sustainability or, health and wellness sectors that are really good to get into?
I don't. I'll just say, I should say this, is that it becomes a bit more difficult when we try to limit it, right? So when we're doing keyword research, we never know, like you plug in kind of a general keyword and then it will spit out a bunch of different options that meet our criteria. A lot of times though, those aren't even kind of in the space that we thought they were going to be. So let's say I search for, I don't know, couches or something, and then it comes up with like upholstery cleaning, right? Or it comes out to be, something totally random comes out. It's not as close as I thought it would be, but it's fine. As long as it meets our criteria, I'm actually fine purchasing it. But if you're looking specifically for the sustainability industry, I think it might be a little more difficult. In fact, I'm not sure. I think you can do the keyword research process if you have a site that is in the niche. I mean, you can look up keywords and target your content around it, but I'm not sure that I would get into sustainability solely based on keyword research. That wouldn't be my primary driver for picking the niche, but it would be something I'd use long-term to build the site out with additional content.
I see. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of, certain markets that might be interesting to my audience, for example, because, I think I can see on one hand, doing this from a pure profitability standpoint, but from, a passion or, interest standpoint, it might not be as compelling to build out a bunch of portfolio websites on upholstery cleaning and blue ski boots and
yeah. One thing I think is important though is that, this process, right? And some of it is pretty boring. Really building small, even people that dig the process and it's profitable for them, it's not like they get really fired up about that particular niche site that they're creating. But what is important, I think, is that, you get these fundamentals down. So building out these types of sites, you'll learn how to quickly put sites together, how to put them on the web, how to work really well in WordPress, how to order content, how to do keyword research in any niche that you're in. So let's say that I have a site that's based on alternative energy, right? It's like an alternative energy review, and I do some polling of other articles, and I kind of analyze them and that kind of thing. Finding out what keywords people are searching for in that niche is critical to me getting search traffic. So what this will do in creating these types of niche sites will show you how that works, and it's a relatively low-cost way to test through it. So, I really recommend the keyword research part of what we do, even for bloggers, even for people with large sites, because it's wonderfully effective in, making sure that you're targeting the right keywords and the right search volume for your blog or for your industry. So I think it can be even more effective on a larger site that you're able to do some of that internal keyword linking. Even you can go after slightly more aggressive keywords. So maybe you do a KC of 60 or less because you're able to do some internal links from your other pages to this keyword or to this page that you just created. So you're able to do your own internal linking to help boost the ranking and go after more competitive niches. So yeah, I would definitely do it for if you have a blog or a site on renewable energies, for example, you can find keywords in that niche and it'll kind of drive your content creation and make sure that you're picking up all the organic traffic that you should be getting.
Do you offer any tutorials on your particular keyword research methodology that you guys use?
Yeah. So we have a guide. It goes through our entire process, start to finish. It's free. It's called Building a Niche Site Empire. And it goes through, it spends quite a bit of time on the keyword research we've kind of discussed here briefly, but it also gives into like our content sources, who we use for hiring content, how we order that content, how we check to make sure it's unique before we put it on our site. So we're not putting copied content or someone else's work on our site. I'd really recommend checking it out. It's not going to cost you anything. And I think it's a great way if you haven't built out these sites or you don't know exactly how to target keywords based on search volume, this will get you completely up to speed and get you testing through it.
Excellent. So when you guys build these AdSense sites, do you market any affiliate products through it, or do you just keep it purely AdSense based?
So we don't market any affiliate deals through our sites. It's been AdSense only. At one point, we had tested some lead generation stuff, and we had, I think, one or two were working well, the other two were not. But it's not really something we explored in depth. But I would say that a lot of website buyers do this. So it's a great way if you're buying sites to improve the site, to expand the site. You may see a site that's monetized with AdSense. And generally speaking, AdSense is a lower form of monetization. So if your site's getting, let's say, 10,000 plus visits a month, you should seriously look at improving your monetization and not just using AdSense. For the AdSense, we're talking about 800 visits a month or something. If you're getting 10,000, 15,000 a month plus, you should look at improving it through affiliate offers, through selling your own products directly. And that's a great way for when you are buying a site to actually expand the site to earn more money to get a better return on your investment.
Okay, so is it possible to generate a viable, sustainable income purely on a portfolio of AdSense sites, or is the money really in flipping the websites?
Yeah, so it depends on what kind of your goals are. So originally when we did it, our plan was not to flip sites necessarily. This is even pre our blog or anything. The idea was to hold them, but we realized that it was fairly expensive to keep expanding the process. We were spending more money if we had to wait for the income to catch up, because it's like a 3 to 4 month lag time. So if we're expanding and spending more money and we've got that lag, we're going to be quite a bit in the hole. So our goal originally was saying, why don't we just realize cash flow up front, sell the sites off to other people looking to build out sites similarly, and then we can take that cash and reinvest it. And that was really successful for us. Other people, though, they, like, for example, some site buyers think it's absolutely crazy to be selling off online assets. So they generally will buy and hold. So, a guy we were just talking to pre-show, there's a guy named Mark up in Chiang Mai right now with his girlfriend, and he has a large network of AdSense type sites where he maintains them, holds them. He's sold quite a few sites through us, but he also buys sites and holds a bunch of sites himself to see if he can improve the traffic and do that long term. And he's making 5 figures a month on it. And he also does some other stuff. But then you have guys like I interviewed for our show called Drew Sanaki, and he works as a partner at a company where they are looking for sites in the like 500,000 to like 3 million range. They buy them up, and their goal is to flip them inside of 12 months. So they'll look for sites that, have potential for improved monetization, where they can make some changes to the site or to the business and, sell it off for 2 to 3 times what they purchased it in 12 months. And so that's their business model, is just buying, improving, and selling the site. So I think it kind of just depends on what your goals are. If you want just sites that you work on, you want to have, let's say, 20 to 40 sites or even 400 sites, you can do that. You just better have a team in place that can manage those sites long term. If you have 400 sites that require a little bit of work every month, you're probably going to want a few VAs working for you. If you have 20 sites that require a bit more work, you're going to have VAs, but it's obviously more consolidated. So it just depends on what your goals are.
Okay, so you had mentioned expired domains, that you've basically been acquiring them and testing their success on. I understand that building a website on an expired domain is a great way to get an additional lift in Google, as opposed to like building a website on a brand new domain. Can you explain exactly what an expired domain is and where we would go find one?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. And I'll mention this to you briefly, is that even when you buy a domain that is brand new, it may have had a history. So we bought sites or bought what we thought were brand new domains that had problems before, that had issues where they had a backlink profile or were penalized in some way. That's caused this issue. And you run into the same problem with buying expired domains. And it's a bit more cost to this too. So you have to be a bit more careful. But basically, yeah, an expired domain is, and the guy who talks really well about this subject is John Haver over at authoritywebsiteincome.com. And that's actually where we got the process from. Joe's been testing out buying expired domains and building out sites on content that's very similar. So say, for example, that we had a site in the, I don't know, home furnishings. We want to build out a site, around a particular keyword in the home furnishings niche. We were having him look for a domain and find us an expired domain in that general industry, and then we'll build out around the keyword. So it's not always an exact match. It's not an exact match keyword, but it's not even exactly matching the niche, but it's close enough and has some authority in that niche to where we're getting an automatic benefit or bonus by building on that domain. So we've been doing some testing there, and it is true, especially if you find the right ones, it can be beneficial, and the site already has some initial authority they wouldn't have otherwise. We're paying, I think, somewhere between $40 to $100 for those expired domains. I'm not exactly sure about the process. I know that because that's something that Joe works on. That's kind of his side of the house. But I can tell you that, yeah, we're spending $40 to $100, I think, for the domains, and it looks like it's successful in terms of giving us a good ROI.
So these are domains then you'd find through your domain name registrar, as opposed to a website that's already been built out on Flippa. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Any advice on buying a website on Flippa? How would you determine the website's value?
Well, I'd say if you're going to buy a site, you should come to us because we have a marketplace. But I mean, the thing is with Flippa, they're the largest, so they're kind of the eBay of buying and selling websites. But that also means that they don't have any vetting process included, so anyone can list if you pay the fee. So you're going to end up with a whole bunch of sites that are maybe not what you're looking for, or are maybe problematic in some way. Generally, we tell people would generally avoid sites that are under $1,000. If you're looking for something in that range, you're probably better off building out yourself from scratch. But what you want to do is with Flippa, be very good at using their search function. So if you set it up right and you're looking for sites that are, let's say, a year older, that have a certain amount of revenue, it's verified AdSense revenue, that'll put you on a good start. But yeah, there are a ton of different things you need to look out for with due diligence. It's not something that you can just say, oh, let me just buy a site, because you're going to figure out over time there are a gazillion ways to, you're going to find out that there are a gazillion ways to, have problems when you're buying a site. So we have a podcast on our due diligence process, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. But I Google search due diligence when buying a website, and, a whole bunch of resources will come up. So I'd say one of the big things to worry about or to check into when you're buying a site, and this sounds kind of odd, but I always like to make sure that the seller has some kind of legitimate presence. So a lot of times, they are anonymous, right? So they don't have a LinkedIn profile. You can't find them anywhere else online. You have no idea who they are. And that just tells me that there's going to be zero recourse if things do go shady, or if things do go wrong. I'll have no recourse because this guy has absolutely no presence at all. It doesn't require that you're publicly out there, but it's helpful, right? I mean, if you're not, I think it's problematic. I'd also say, if at all possible, and you're specifically looking for like AdSense screenshots, if it's someone that you've never worked with before, may not be enough. It's better to actually check out you can do like screen share on video. That's fakeable too, but it's hard. It's more difficult. So if it's someone that you've never worked with before, you might want to do a screen share with them and make sure that some of the traffic and earnings details that they're telling you about are true. But there's a lot more to it than that, but those are the main things I'd look out for.
Awesome. So we're coming to the end of our interview segment. You've shared so much information. There's so many more questions I would love to ask you, but I think at this point it might involve just taking a closer look at your website, empireflippers.com, because you have shared such great content with the public already on what you do. How is the best way for us to be able to stay in touch with you?
Well, I tweet every once in a while, so you can check me out on Twitter at empireflippers. Obviously, you can check us out at empireflippers.com. We also have a podcast. It's on iTunes. Check it out, Empire Flippers Podcast.
And what do you guys cover in your podcast, typically?
It's a little more broad. So we don't talk about, keyword research selection as much. It's more about kind of like living and working in the Philippines, building remote teams, building process in your business, standard operating procedures, how to hire and manage VAs. It's a bit more general. It talks a little bit more about kind of our overall business experience and some of the things that work, some of the things that did not work, and that kind of thing. So we just kind of share our business experiences in the hope that our listeners get some value.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, Justin.
Awesome, Lorna. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, folks, for listening to the Entrepreneurs for a Change podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please help us reach more people with inspiring stories like this one by giving us a 5-star rating in iTunes. If this podcast inspires you to join the movement of change-making entrepreneurs, we'd love to give you a jumpstart with our free Business Changemakers Toolkit, which you can download at www.entrepreneursforachange.com/join. If you have a changemaker in mind you'd love for us to interview, go to entrepreneursforachange.com/suggest and tell us who and why. Finally, feel free to stop by facebook.com/entrepreneursforachange to share your thoughts and say hello.